Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Toronto-based jazz pianist Nick Maclean. He just released 2017's Rites of Ascension and got his Bachelors of Music from Humber College in 2013. His musical influences have been Herbie Hancock, Chick Corea, Brad Meldau, The Weather Report, and Snarky Puppy. And these days, he is one of the most in-demand 20-something pianists in a city that is literally bursting at the seams up there in Toronto. So get to know him and dig this interview, my friends.
Nick, thank you for taking a minute out. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for doing this.
Let's just dive right in here. I listened to Rites of Ascension. It's a great album.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to know how you feel about this album.
I'm extremely proud of it. I think the guys, the other dudes, Brown, Jesse Dici, and Tyler Gertzen, they all played their asses off on it, and it very much represents kind of a change in direction for me. It's my other project is an electric jazz project called Snaggle, very kind of Snarky Puppy, Mahavishnu Orchestra, Brecker Brothers, Weather Report inspired, so more funkified electric jazz kind of thing. This is the complete antithesis to that, so it's a kind of getting back to the roots of jazz, doing a much more inspired by like early 60s Herbie Hancock with that quartet with Freddie Hubbard.
The cover looks a little bit like you went Hollywood with kind of a Matrix theme.
It's so the record label that the group is on, Brown Source Records. They don't have very many requirements when it comes to album art, but the two things they do ask are that it's dark and that it's a little bit sci-fi. And both the CEO of Brown to Source, Brownman Ali, and I are huge fans of sci-fi, and the whole kind of abduction, ascension, rising imagery worked really well with the whole concept of the album. So yeah, and it was done by actually a New York native, Dean Shu, who's done a bunch of the album covers on the Brown to Source label.
The one thing that's always hopeful about jazz in this modern day and era of people kind of fighting to make their name and make some money and get some things going is that I hear with people like you, 20-something piano player that's bustling in a busy city. Is that how you feel?
Yeah, certainly. There's a lot going on in Toronto, and it's challenging to stand out and to make it in this industry. But it's so much fun, and I love doing it, and like I'm in some ways I count myself extremely lucky because the vast majority of my time is spent working on what I consider art. So on original projects like this or Snaggle, or just lots of things that I find very artistically satisfying and go right into the realm of personal expression, and not everyone gets to do that.
Let me ask you this. You grew up in Toronto. Talk to me about your childhood and how obviously this seems pretty robust. How did you get so involved in jazz? Why is that your avenue in life?
So actually I grew up in Ottawa. I moved to Toronto about 7 years ago to attend Humber College, which is a local institution that's got a fantastic jazz program. But I guess my initial kind of foray into jazz, it was my grandfather on my mother's side that got me into it, because he's an enormous fan of kind of the older school big band and Dixieland. So he got me my first jazz record, which was a Fats Waller record. So lots of great stride piano, and that's what got me into it. So a lot of my earlier years were spent listening to guys like Fats or Louis Armstrong, some Glenn Miller, some Benny Goodman, Duke Ellington, Count Basie. And then after high school, after I went to Humber College, I started checking out a lot of the more modern guys, and it all just kind of grew from there.
So what have you learned in higher education? You obviously go to college, and obviously there's a lot of really good jazz programs out there. But at the end of the day, now that you're a professional, you're out playing all the time, what did you get from college that was instrumental for you in your life as a musician?
Certainly college gives you the foundation of a great deal of things. So I got a further grounding in the jazz tradition. I got greater technical facility on my instrument, which of course is very important. And then Humber is really great because it's got some extra stuff in there that you don't get everywhere, including a little bit of business education in the industry and some technological education as well. So how to use digital audio workstations like Pro Tools or Logic, and all of these skills are important for I did all the editing of the NMQ record and both of the Snaggle records all myself, and it's not something that if I'd hired a guy to do it, they would have put nearly as much detail into it because no one knows the music better than I do. Yeah, so that was kind of Humber, and then immediately after Humber, I was at the University of Toronto doing my master's degree, and there I learned a great deal more about kind of what constitutes artistry and what things to think about in terms of how to tie your art to greater ideas and that kind of thing. But my education hasn't finished by any means. I've been very lucky to have been practically tied at the hip to the trumpet player on the record, Brownman Ali, for the past 2.5 years, and I've been learning an enormous amount under him. I consider it something of a mentorship relationship because he teaches me an incredible amount about all kinds of things, including production ideas, promotion ideas. Like I'm getting graphic design lessons from Brown every now and again about poster design or Facebook event banner design. But then, of course, there's an enormous amount of musical discussion as well. It's just about conceptual ideas of how to navigate certain chord changes or how to just bring out different textures in your solos. And so it's an ongoing process. I don't really think education ever should end in some regards, because if it ends, then you stop growing. And in my view, all the best artists keep growing all throughout their careers.
Speaking of your career, how do you feel about it?
I still consider myself at the very beginning of my career. I'm proud of what I've been able to accomplish so far. I'm very humbled by the attention that I've received in some regards. I think I've been very fortunate in the opportunities that I've been given over the years. Like certainly my work with Brownman Ali has in my view catapulted me years farther than I would have been without him. But yeah, I guess I don't necessarily have any specific destinations in mind for my career. It's all just kind of a journey of pushing upwards and outwards. Once one thing's finished, it's good to kind of take a step back and bask in the success of a project. But you never want to stay there for too long. You don't want to rest on your laurels because there's always the next thing coming up.
So why do you love jazz?
Jazz is so much fun. It's such a free medium for expression. I love the spontaneity of the moment and the things that can happen within it. Just last week, I was playing in the Brownman Electric Trio +1. We were doing a Halloween Thriller tribute tour, exploring the music of Michael Jackson, but as if interpreted by Miles Davis. What was so much fun about playing with that group is everyone's ears were wide open, and the music, the Michael Jackson tunes on the Thriller record, they're fairly simple tunes. They're almost jazz standardy in a way. So there's such wonderful melodic and harmonic elements to them, but in a framework which lets us go off in any direction that we want to. So just the ability to play with musicians that always say yes, or always say yes and take an idea and run with it. And so that process of just not knowing where the music is going to go, and just being totally excited to see where it goes and to take it on a journey. That's what I find exciting.
So what have been some of the best live shows you've seen that it's really kind of stuck in your head?
Some of the best live shows, the Wayne Shorter Quartet is definitely something that sticks out. The current one, Wayne Shorter, Brian Blade, Danilo Perez, and John Patitucci, like those guys take things in all sorts of crazy directions. And like there's a great version of Footprints that I've got where they start out and it's definitely footprints and they're putting their own spin on it but by the end of the tune, like, holy crap, it's gone to so many different places. Yeah, apart from that, I'm trying to think of what show I've gone to. Oh, no. Okay, last year around April, there was in KW, Kitchener-Waterloo. It's a town just a couple hours out of Toronto. Brown was doing a 5 Weeks for Miles tribute series, and on the third week, so this was the Live at the Plugged Nickel years Miles Davis, so that second great quintet with Herbie Hancock, Wayne Shorter, Tony Williams, and so he grabbed a bunch of heavies from the Toronto scene. I think Mike Downs was on that gig, Dave Restivo was on piano, Morgan Childs on drums. I think that's it. And then of course, and Andy Ballantyne on the tenor saxophone. And holy crap, those guys! It's the depth of exploration on that gig was just incredible because they would and again, like, they were very simple tunes that they were playing, but they would take it in a direction and then someone would throw something out and it would turn on a dime and maybe the tempo would shift drastically and the energy would shift drastically and would go off in a completely different direction. Just the level of communication that was going on stage to take such simple tunes and go off in so many different directions is just incredible to watch. And those tend to be the shows that I enjoy the most.
So let me ask you this. Everyone has a version of who you are, your family, your friends, your fans, but who do you think you are when you face today?
That's a very long question, or I guess the answer to that's very long. It's like as a jazz musician, I very much want to be someone playing the music of tomorrow, informed by the tradition but not bound by it. I want to have a personal voice. Like it would be great if someone heard me on the radio and thought, oh, that sounds like Nick. And I think I'm still kind of getting there. Apart from that, there are a lot of different aspects to identity. Like I consider myself a skeptic. I try to examine information before I take it in, and believe it all whole hog. Apart from that, I'm a gamer. So I'm very much enjoying video games and that kind of content. I love a ton of movies and television shows, get a lot of inspiration from those kind of sources as well. I'm a reader. At the moment, I'm checking out a lot of kind of political nonfiction things. I'm currently working my way through Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power, which kind of distill a whole bunch of Machiavellian principles into these 48 laws of this is what you do to amass power, and it shows a bunch of different historical examples kind of people who followed the laws and people who transgressed the laws and all the different things that happen. So it's a very interesting book. Sorry, I'm going on a bunch of different tangents.
No, you're good.
But yeah, I guess it's hard to sum up one's identity in kind of a short, concise thing. But yeah, generally that's kind of what I consider myself.
I like it. Nick, thank you for taking some time out. I think that kind of sums everything up a little bit. It's a good way of kind of a stopping point. Thanks for the music. Thanks for your stories about your life and music. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. If not for guys like you, a lot of people wouldn't hear this music. So it's incredibly appreciated.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to yet another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Toronto, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Nick for his cool and his music. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com. And for everything Neon Jazz, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.